Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another special episode of GRG Talks. 2 weeks in a row now, we have special guests in studio. Today's guest is here to talk in particular about home inspections. Larry Stamp from Cameo Home Inspections.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
So, Larry, how long have you been doing home inspections for?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. What time is it now? No, since 1999.
Since 1999.
1999.
So you've been in the business for a long time. You've seen a lot of things.
A ton. I think there were like 6 guys in town when I started doing
Really?
this. Yeah. I'm not quite sure. Prior to COVID, there were estimated over 80 just in Thurston County. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely huge.
Okay. So it's gotten pretty big.
Yeah. I don't know where it's at now. I suspect it's probably somewhat close.
How does someone, this was a curious one for me, how does someone become a home inspector? Because about a month and a half ago, you came in and you talked about it was one issue in particular that had to do with the way that structures are being built, home structures are being built now.
Right, yes.
And I got to instantly thinking, like, that is not something someone just picks up off the street. You have to actually, have to really know your stuff in and out to be a really good home inspector. How does one get into that line of work? What do they have to do to become one?
Yeah, it's a fair question. And actually, prior to 2008, there were no requirements.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
No. And so the range of expertise and training in home inspectors went everywhere from soup to nuts.
Yeah.
And in '08, there was legislation passed. And so basically the bones of that law say that to become a home inspector, you have to take 120 hours of actual classroom from an approved course.
Yeah.
You have to take 40 hours of field training. Then you have to take the National Home Inspectors exam, and then there's a state exam that goes along with that. And at that point, you are licensed as a home inspector.
Wow.
But it's basic stuff, and really, truly, going back to what you said about how long I've been doing this, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
A lot has changed.
Yeah, that in particular. I mean, 2008 and those sorts of things come into play.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I don't know, it was an answer to there needed to be some reforms in real estate anyway in '08?
Sure.
And that was one of them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a home inspection is something that literally everyone at least should be doing.
I agree.
Have to be, yeah. And I would say kind of have to. Can you walk us through how a home inspection works? And let's start with with it from sort of the beginning. The seller and the buyer have entered into what could be an agreement to sell this home to a particular person, and in comes the home inspection. Let's start off with, do the buyers typically reach out to you, or do the sellers typically reach out to you for the home inspection,
Sure.
or is it an agent that you usually work with?
Sure. And before I answer that, let me say this. Going back to something that you commented on about should people be doing inspections,
Yeah.
okay? I'm up to 10,500 plus inspections in my career.
Oh, wow.
The number of times I have never not found anything, 3. Can
Wow.
the camera see that? 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean builders are bad or anything like that. It means it's an imperfect world of imperfect people dealing with imperfect materials under imperfect conditions.
Right.
Stuff happens. So is it important? Absolutely.
Yeah.
The people who normally call me are going to be the buyers, number one.
Okay.
And the realtors refer a lot as well. Although I understand that's kind of a risky thing for them because they should be giving out 3 names. But normally it's the buyer, then the realtor, and on occasion you'll get sellers that will call wanting like a pre-listing kind of thing.
Sure.
And sometimes you'll get
So
owners.
they kind of know what could be wrong with it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's a whole different area unto itself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But that's where it comes from. And then what was your other question about?
Oh, so then when you come out to the house, right? So you've gotten this referral now. You've agreed to come out to the house and do a home inspection. Where are you starting? Typically for you personally, where are you starting? And sort of like, what are you looking at?
Okay. So a home inspection is basically a limited visual examination where you're looking at all the major installed systems and components: roofing, heating, plumbing, electric, attic, the substructure. I don't mess around with non-built-in things, clothes washers, refrigerators, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So where it starts, everybody is a little bit different, but here's the key. protocol, protocol, protocol. For me, for risk management, I have to stick to protocol. The other thing that's important with relationship to protocol is that everything happens for a reason. There's absolutely nothing random about what I do. There's nothing random about the process that I do. And my definition of a home inspection is basically it's a process where I'm going to look for everything I expect to find based upon my training and my experience until I either find it or I'm convinced it's not there.
Yeah.
And every step builds upon the next. So there's a certain order of things. So for me, I want to do the outside, then I want to do the roof, then I want to do the garage, the inside, the attic, I do the underneath last. Because everything that I look at tells me, oh, this is where you need to look next, because I can't inspect every square foot of the house.
Right.
So as a good example, let's say I'm outside, I look at the roof, I see I've got a dip-de-doo, a wow in the roof. So I know that in the attic, I need to be really conscientious about checking out that one particular area, because I'm sure as heck not going to crawl around every square foot of the attic.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that protocol, and that's basically how that whole thing goes. For me, everybody's a little bit different, but I think that for a buyer, for a realtor, it's really important that they understand what the home inspector's protocol is so that they can kind of facilitate that.
And how long does it take you typically to come back with the results of your home inspection?
Same day for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they can know relatively quickly how to move forward in the process.
Well, yeah, I mean, real estate's like the most contrived crisis in the world. I mean, you can be looking for a house for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden you find one, and it's hurry up, sign, and timelines. So, yeah.
Okay. Why do you think, so you've been doing this work for a long time, so clearly you think it's important. It's very easy for someone who is in the industry to see the importance of a home inspection for all people involved. But why do you think home inspections are so important?
I think home inspections are important because of the nature of the job and how it relates to building code. And to kind of not make this terribly complicated, but people take a lot of comfort sometimes in the fact that a house passed code. And building code is kind of retrospective in a lot of ways. It's like, oh, this didn't work, so we're going to change the code on how we do this. Children got hurt on this particular thing, so we're going to change something here. It's forward thinking in terms of things like fire safety and that sort of thing. But code is absolutely no guarantee that things are going to work.
Yeah.
It's no guarantee things are not going to fail. And here comes home inspection, where really my expertise is knowing how things fail, why they fail, and where they fail.
Right.
And if everything that passed code didn't fail or didn't have problems, I wouldn't have a job. I mean, plain and simple.
Right.
So really the state and art of what we do, the reason it's so important is because we see things that the builders, the contractors may not realize. And even the building officials themselves. I did a class for City of Lacey orchestrated it, but there's quarterly meetings between all the code officials in the county. And they asked me to come in and talk about the things that we were seeing. Yeah. And we had some other folks come with us, but so many of these people were out there going, "What? Yeah. You're kidding." Yeah. I mean, they had no idea. Right. And we're looking at two different things. Right. We're looking at two different things.
Have you ever found yourself you don't have to give any specific examples in conflict where you report something and you say, "Hey, this is what I see," and either the seller or somebody comes back and says, "Well, we don't agree with that." Have you ever run into that? What is the process of working that out?
Yeah, a lot. A lot. The process is really not clear cut. I have several choices. If I see a condition and I call it out and the builder or whoever says, "Well, that's the way it was and there's nothing wrong with that," then there's two things that I can do. Number one, I can say, "Well, okay, so be it. You own it. All right. I've told you.
I've reported it.
I've reported it.
Right.
I've educated my buyer, because that's really the essence of what it is that I do."
Yeah.
But now, if you get to that point where you're talking about something that's potentially a significant health and safety issue,
Right.
then you have to sit back and say, okay, I'm not an enforcer. That's not my job. But maybe you want to get another opinion.
Yeah.
And because I have no way to really...
No avenue to really go.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do. There have been a few occasions where there have been repetitive things happening in particular developments, and the builders have been a little reticent to see my point of view. Not that I'm the save-all and end-all to everything, but I actually went to the building department and said, we got a problem here, and they followed up with the builder.
Yeah.
So there are some avenues, but again, I'm not an enforcer.
Right.
So, and I have to judge carefully what point do I go from just being an educator to being someone who dives into the pool and
actually, chance to try and make change or whatever.
Right.
You mentioned something that really stirred a question for me, and that was sort of the very sort of, I guess, danger points or hot spots. What for you as a home inspector have you noticed are some of the hot spots in a home that, if they're not paid attention to, could really cause some issues health and safety wise?
Well, and let's break that down. Let's go back a step, because when we look at home inspection findings, I have a little thing I call the 70-20-10 rule.
Okay.
So what that means is that 70% of what I do is a bunch of stuff. It's just a bunch of, I have to document to meet standards and all that stuff. 20% is nuisance documentation. If I don't write down somebody's got a chip sink, somebody's going to make me buy them one. Don't ask me how I know that, okay?
Okay.
10% is important. Of that 10%, health and safety, number one, high dollar repairs, conditions where there could be costly hidden things. And those last two are always water related. They always involve the exterior.
Oh, wow. Always
the
water
roof,
related.
Always. The roof or the underneath, always. If I'm training a new inspector, I tell them, you got to focus on the three areas that are going to cost you the most if you screw up. And that's the exterior, the roof, or the underneath.
Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, the bigger things that we're seeing now, if you're cognizant of what's going on, are building science related things that are fairly complex and not what we ever had to deal with before, because building code is fraught with unintended consequences.
Right.
And so we're seeing a lot of systems interactions, a lot of it having to do with heating, ventilation, air conditioning, relative humidity, those kinds of things. Could they morph into health and safety? Maybe. But I think by and large, health and safety are not the big issues right now. I think it's more building science kinds of things that are causing insidious damages to buildings down the road.
Right. As a seller prepares to put their house on the market, what are some of the things they should be aware of when they're preparing to do that home inspection wise?
Mostly having access to everything. A lot of sellers get all concerned about the cosmetics and the paint and should we do this and should we fix this up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I can't tell you how many ways I don't care. Okay. I really don't. And I always tell sellers, if we're doing like a pre-listing, do not lift a finger to do anything in this report until you talk to your realtor, because you do not want to spend money doing something that doesn't matter. For me, all I care about for the seller is that, can I get to the attic? Can I get to the electric panel? And that's not to just open it and look at it. I got to pull the dead front cover off. I have to be in front of it, safely standing there without crap in my way.
Yeah.
Can I get to the furnace? Can I get to the water heater? And get to the attic and get to the crawl space? Do you have a lock on the gate on the outside that I can't get through?
Right.
It's stupid.
So then the
simple.
inspection doesn't even start.
Right. It's stupid, simple little stuff. Put your dog away, for God's sake. Okay.
Sounds like you've had that experience before, Larry.
You want to see this? Yeah, I've had a few. But those are the big things from the seller's standpoint. And leave. Please don't be there.
Oh, okay.
Don't be there.
Yeah.
It makes it makes it a real challenge for me because my job, again, as an educator, I have to be able to talk to my client and explain things to them. If Mr. Seller's standing right here, I ain't talking to you.
Right.
I learned that in 2001, I think it was. And I didn't realize the seller was standing there.
Yeah.
And he got so upset. He got in his truck and he rammed mine.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And split, took off the back quarter panel.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that is crazy.
So you just learn, and particularly if renters are there,
Yeah.
That'd be horrible.
Yeah. Boy, it strikes me that being a home inspector is a lot like being an NBA referee. Like every single player and coach is like pecking at you, hoping to make sure they get a little bit of the advantage or whatnot.
Well, they do, and that's where I count on the realtor to kind of be the referee, if you will, because we're all in this together. Okay, I mean, my job, your job is easy. We only have to do one thing. And that's just do the very best that we know how to do to take care of our client.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing else. And if that's all we do, we're golden. And if we look out for each other, and sometimes it's even the little things where it's like, it's an inspection. The end of the day, it's starting to get, dark and so on. I'm not leaving until the realtor's out the door.
Yeah.
We have to look out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great spot to end it on a topic that I think sometimes is mysterious for the buyers and sellers because, they get to this last part, the home inspection piece,
right,
and they're just chomping at the bit to get this
right,
transaction finished. And they might look at the home inspection as a hurdle, but the reality is they really should look at it more like, this is a benefit for everybody involved.
Yes.
Because the buyer gets a sense of like what they need to be looking for. The seller gets a sense of like it's given a sort of clean bill of health or whatnot. And for the realtor, you can gain a little bit of trust by bringing in a good home inspector.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that the one thing as we're ending this, that in terms of advice for buyers, when you're looking at an inspector, you're not looking around town to get the best price on a Kia.
Yeah.
Ask questions and interview those people and find out more about them.
Oh, wow.
That's really, really important.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great advice. Larry, thank you so much for coming in. It's Cameo Home Inspections, Larry Stamp. We really want to thank you for coming in and talking about home inspections.
You betcha. Anytime.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.